Hi, welcome to this video on LED play using Raspberry Pi 1 versus 2 and Python versus C++. Last time I tried to change the algorithm such that after successful activating this LED from this LED, and same with this and this, to have this LED activate this one, and so on. However, it turned out that although this was activated and here was a signal sent to this LED, the reading of the signal from here turned out to be continuously 0, despite the fact that this LED was turned on and off frequently. So the question is, should I wait here till the signal is definitely 0? Is there a speed difference, a sequential difference? So that is the big question, because I tried to read from here to here and that was 0 as well. In the previous project where I tried to influence readings from between Raspberry Pi 1 and 2 was also a reading problem. So there may be a question on timing, and of course the clock frequency between Raspberry Pi 1 and 2 are different. But if that difference is of influence of not reading the signals correctly or timely, that I don't know yet. So that is the first question of today. Will I manage to read it in time? So let's see the code. So for checking everything out, let's start the running again. So Python versus C++, the various input states. Here I didn't put anything, but here I did. And you can see here on cam what happens. Let me point the camera a little bit better. The problem is that this LED does burn, but does it burn because of this, or doesn't it? Because if you look here, it sure doesn't look like it's being activated. Everything is 0. And which is correct, by the way, because I have commented out the whole input, which means that the old algorithm is active. So no, I have to change it here. Let's disable it. And then go like, alright, let's enable everything again. And then it should work. And yes, should is not the same as will. So what we need to do now is a compilation. Now why does this happen? Because I know it compiled before. No, this is input state and I need here input state 11. That is the problem. And that is a problem as well, because I have here input state 11. But if input state doesn't exist, oops, this has to be input state 11. And perhaps that is the reason that the whole algorithm didn't work. Now it compiles fine, no surprise. Let's start again. At times it is, as I have mentioned quite a few times before, very handy to have a little distance from the code if you write it, to lose some blindness. And now here we see it going to 1 and 0, but it doesn't repeat. There is no influence anyway. Did I do it here? Yes, I did do it here. So you read the status, and what I can do, of course, is print the subsequent input values here. So let's do that. Print input 11 is RPi dot input 11. And the same goes for here. This of course has to be 16. And 16. And this should be 31. go. And for now, go. And you may notice that here inputs are actually 1 and 0. But here they are not. So here they are actually red. So let me do it in another way to put this construction here as well. Just let's see what happens. If this doesn't work, I may have to check the wiring again. So I have changed the code accordingly to the wiring, how it should interact. So let's see if it does interact. Which reminds me, I have yet to compile it. Now I can run. Again, it starts with 1. Now that is 1. Question is, does it work? That's a big if. I don't know. I quit everything right now. Starting and starting. And one big problem is, of course, if you don't start everything at the same time, it doesn't read and it doesn't respond to each other. And that is, yeah, that is a problem, to say the least. Because now everything is 0, here everything remains 0. So what I may need to do is synchronize everything. And another point is, if you look here, this LED is burning, and the rest, when I keep my hand over it, is visibly not burning. So that is a problem, of course. Let me do one more test. Running. What will happen? Will anything happen at all? So far, nothing spectacular happens. So the two big issues are how sure I am that this is going to work, except from the wiring. It may not run at all. Is there a way to check them at the same spot? I might try to open a window from here to the Raspberry Pi 1 and then cold solder them at the same time. That's a nice idea, by the way. Let me check how if I can do that. Because this is, if I look here at this code, it is nice, but it is very independent on each other. I may start for the wiring right now. I think that is better safe than sorry. So I should do that first before opening another terminal in here. Of course, wiring is one thing, but programming the signals is another. Those should be alright. So what I'm going to do is, since the wiring is all fine, supposedly these are connected and these are connected, but I'm going to use the voltmeter to check if everything indeed works. So I'm going to run the program on both sides. Oops. And check for the LEDs to start, if they do. And so far nothing works. So that shows to be a problem. Nothing works at this moment that I can tell. So why is that the case? There are no LEDs burning at all. So I may have to reverse the code settings, because if nothing works, that means that nothing is being activated. And I think I should start here to not have this one activated, but activate it myself. So let's do that and then check again. So in order to check if I was a little bit too enthusiastic putting this code here, I will comment these out. And then this line, the whole if block, leaving the original code in. This is not needed, and these ifs are fine as well. Looking at the RaspberryPi1 side, I keep everything as is, since the first LED to burn is on the RaspberryPi2 side. So with that said, right, oops, and compile again. No error. So I'm going to start the whole thing again. Try to measure the voltages on the higher LEDs, and then try to get this whole thing in here. See if that works. So let's see. With that little code change, I'm going to start RaspberryPi1 and RaspberryPi2 side. Now the LEDs obviously burn, but I have to check if these voltages are quite okay. And so far, unfortunately, there's no mention of any voltage. So if I do it the other way, will that work? This is strange, no response at all. So now the question is, did I ruin anything? Because now only one LED is burning. This is very odd indeed. And now I see this LED burning. Oops. So, right now, the thing I wanted to do with the multimeter is obviously not working quite as intended. Which is quite strange. Let me just see if this works out. There's no response at all. Using a different multimeter won't make any sense. What I can do for a change is see if this multimeter works at all. So I will measure the resistance. And the resistance should be measured. And that works. So these rods work. That's one comfort. Then again setting to voltage. This works, as you can see. Then measuring this one. And you can see that here nothing works. So whatever the reason is, I'm quite baffled here. And I'd have to check once again what is the reason that and here things work again, but not at all in the way I expect. This is very odd behavior. And I didn't change any wiring. just that this LED influences this one still influences here, but this also influences this one. But what happens is beyond my idea right now, so I have to check the code, because that is what I last changed. So when looking at this very odd behavior, the only thing that should happen is reading a value, but at the same time it just sets the value on and off, no ifs, and only here it starts working again. And at this side nothing changed, so that will have to be fine. And let me put the cam right. And it doesn't show the correct behavior. Let me once again restart the whole thing. And here you see that the LEDs do burn. But in such a way that I can't predict what happens when. So this is quite odd behavior. As I already said, the code is the same, behavior isn't. So much for a nice experiment. One thing I want to do, and I will do that as a last attempt for now. Open a new window. And let me see, that could be unfortunate. I think it's 129. It does work, but let's try. This works. Alright, now I am RPi on the Raspberry Pi, because if I do here different IP address, if you can see. So now I say this is the code I should have. And this one. So this is enter and enter. So now I'm controlling the Raspberry Pi 1 from the Raspberry Pi 2. Does this work? I honestly don't know. Well, in timing it is, but how's the behavior? Still odd. And with this I think I should end this episode. There's enough to check yet, and I think I will wait with that for next time. So thanks for watching. Experiments go weird, and to be continued, obviously.